Okay, ITS128, and it's March 28th. And so let me share my screen before I forget. And put this over here, put this down here, and 128. All right, so, oh, not that one, 128, this one. Okay, so we are in the middle of chapter 7. Spending a lot of time in chapter 7. We don't need to spend this much time in chapter 7. I put up a new assignment, assignment 6, population data, and let me just go through it and let me start it out for you. And in this assignment, you're able to use a list or an array. I think I'll start out by using an array here, and maybe maybe next time I'll do a list. Let me make sure I got my. It is overview. We are Thursday, March. Okay, Thursday, March 28th. Okay, and that's arrays and lists. Yes. Okay, so if we look at the assignment, it's pretty straightforward. We have a file called uspopulation.text. Looks like this. There's a bunch of populations. That cannot be right. Must be because that's not nearly enough people for the US population. Is it? No, it's not. Not nearly enough people. Contains the mid-year population of the United States. Oh, in thousands. Okay, in thousands. I thought we were off by a factor of 1,000. During the years 1950 to 1990, the first line of the file contains the population for 1950, the second line for 1951, and so on. And so we want you to create an application which reads them all in from the file, and displays out something that looks like this. And basically, it's got each year and the increase from the previous year. And then down the bottom, it shows the average annual change in the population. And it shows the year with the greatest increase. And it shows the year with the least increase. And the application should display the following: average annual change in population for the period. That's this, this, and this. Okay. And so it's just a simple program that does this. Okay. And so I'm done covering the slides, I think. So why don't we just you know, start writing this program? Okay. So first of all, let me let's start up a new application. Let me start up Visual Studio. Visual Studio. Visual Studio. Oh, here we go. Sign in. And I'm going to start a new project. New project. And I'm going to put it down in my I'll just put it on the desktop. And I'm going to name it assignment 6. ASSIGN, assignment 6, population. How's that? Population. I did something wrong here. Let me close this. I forgot to select the right kind of application to start with. I want to do a Windows Forms application. And I'm going to call this one population. Population. All right, this is better. All right. All right. So let's start out by we got to put. I need to put this. Let's see. Yes. Oh, the TV. Okay. What do I do? Just gotta turn it on. Let's see. I want to. Is it showing up? Is it there yet? Okay. Let's see. First of all, let me open up the textbook. And I need to go to chapter 5 is where we have files. And I want to do open dialog box here. So I want to I want to use this code here. So I want to have an open dialog box here. Let me do toolbox, pin this. And I want to common controls, dialogues, open dialog. So I just got to copy this over here, and it ends up appearing down there. And I want to have a button to open it up. And I'm going to say on the button, let me call it something. Open file, whatever. And let me name it something. Put this up here. BTN open file. And so that is going to open file dialog 1. So here in this example, we changed the name to open file. We can leave the same name the same, and so basically going to go double click on this, and I'm going to have open file dialog 1 show dialog, and I gotta see what I'm doing here. Show dialog. Here we go. Right here. I have these darn line numbers here. All right, let's straighten this up a little bit. And it's not going to be called this. It's, well, I can change the name. Open file. Let me just change the name of it. Open file. Open file. Oh, I need to do right click here and do offset up there, and that goes away. So I created that, and so this opens up the file. Let's see. Um, um, Okay, so so I've got the input file there, and so that starts that open. Okay, so okay, and then let me just put in what this output's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like this. It's got that and a text box below it. Okay, so let me just put a list box there. And so let me put this, looks like that. And so this is going to be public partial class open file. And so I'm going to process the file in here. Number of lines. So first I'm going to read in the file. Let's see. What's this one? Let me just. While we're not at the end of the stream yet, input file, this is just going to count the number of lines in the file. Okay, that's just going to count the number of lines in the file. And then once that's done, I'm going to declare an array, a string array called population. And it's going to be a new string, which is number of lines big. And then I'm going to create another integer array called increase, which is going to keep track of the increase from year to year. So there's going to be a string array that keeps track of the population values. And then there's going to be an integer array that keeps track of the difference between each year as we read these in. So, and I'm going to call that array increase. New integer array that is the same size. And what am I keeping track of? I wonder why I'm keeping track of the total. Anyway, so I'm going to keep another. I'm going to have another variable here called total 0. And so let me reopen this file again. Input file. Why is it? the file equals file open text and index equals 0. And then we're gonna display, or we're gonna add the increases to the increased years. So basically what we're doing now is we're creating this part right here. I'm just going to go through this. I've got the listing for this program, so I'm going to type this in, run it, and then I'm going to explain it after that. And then after that, I'm going to go back, and probably next time, Tuesday, I'll go through and I'll recreate this program, but I'll use a list instead of an array. Okay, and then that's how we'll kind of learn the difference between uh, using an array and using a list to implement the same sort of problem, a solution to the same problem. List box. I don't think I changed. Did I change the name of that? List box. List box 1. Okay, so list box 1. Box 1 dot items dot add. This is the title. And this is now we're going to loop and add them in. So while index is less than population length, and we have not reached the end of the file yet, population index equals input file dot read line. Okay, so that's going to read it into this string array here. If the index is greater than 0, increase index int parse population index minus int parse population index minus 1. So the increase, so index has to be greater than 0 because we want to be past the first one, and because we want, this is going to be 0. When index is 1, then this is 0, and if index were 0, then this would be minus 1, which is an invalid array index. So basically we're taking the current population that we just read in, subtracting what last year's population was, and that's going to be the increase in the index, or the increase in the population. And then we want to pop that into the list box. So list box 1 dot items dot add sure, why not? index plus 1950. So that's going to be 1950 plus the index. So it's going to, the first one is going to be 1951. So that's going to be an integer value, which is just going to be displayed out like a string, and then a space, and then the increase. Which is going to be displayed out as a string plus a return character. So that's going to populate the list box. And then after that, we want to increase the so this is going to increment through. Okay, so we're going to read this one. Okay, so the first time we read this in, we read it all the way in, and we just wanted to find out how many lines there were. So that's all this did. And then, so then once we knew how many lines there were, we declared these two arrays. One array is just going to store the population, and that's going to store the population as a string. We could have stored it as an integer, but in this example here, we're just going to store it as a string. Either way, and then we create this other array here, which is an integer array, and that's going to store. It's also the same size, and that's going to store the increases from year to year. Here we're actually calculating the increases from year to year. And the reason we have this int parse is because we've stored the populations as strings. And so we got to do int parse to convert it back into an integer. And this takes the population of the current year, subtracts the population of the previous year, and that's going to be an integer value. And that is going to be why is it plus? I'm not sure this should be plus equals. I think it should just be equals. Well, it doesn't matter because it's going to be 0. It's going to start out at 0. So whether it's equals or plus equals doesn't matter. Equals better. All right. So that's going to create our list box with the increases. And then let's close this. Why are we totaling up the increases now? I'm not sure why we're doing that. Do we divide the total by anything? Oh, we have an average annual change in population. Is that right? Average annual change in population. That's why we have a total, because we total up all the increases and then we divide by the number of. We total up all the increases and then we divide by the number of increases, and that gives us an average increase. That's the first value there. Okay. So we loop through all the indexes. Okay, great. After that, we are going to after we're done with this while here, we're going to close this file, input file closed. And then we're going to loop and we're going to total up all the increases. Yeah, it's that. Okay, so let's total up all the increases. For int I equals 1 to I is less than population length, I plus plus, while we do that, let's total up. Total plus equals increase I. So that's going to total up all the increases. And so the average is going to be, what does it look like? It's just an integer value, so that's fine. So int average is equal to total divided by population length. Let's see. I'm going to put a text label down here. I'll just leave it at that. And I'm going to say right here, LBL label text equals average increase equals plus average plus new line. All right. Before I go any further, let me download this population.txt file here, and let me save it someplace. How do I save this someplace? Do I right-click, save target as US population.txt? I'm going to save it down, on my desktop. I'm going to save it inside there. So I'm going to save it right here. No, I'm going to save it right here. All right, so really where it is okay, I don't need this anymore. This is not my thing. This is my thing right here. And there it is right here. Okay, so it's right next to my .sln file. I'm going to try to run this and see what happens. Oops, run it. Open file, desktop, population, this one, and there it is. There they all are, just like that. 2384, which is what this says here, 2384. Very good. All right, let me, I'm going to move this label over here, and I'm going to move this way down like that to make it much bigger. And the other thing, oh, okay, I guess that's fine. So let me see what this looks like. Open this. There we go, 2384. Very nice. Okay, so we got that part done. And now we also need to calculate the year with the greatest increase and the year with the least increase. Okay, so how do we do that? Let me go, let me create some new labels here. I'm going to create a, I have to remember the years too. So integer max, maximum increase, minimum increase, max year, and min year. And I guess I can set these equal to 0. Min year equals 0. Okay, so let me start out by saying, let's calculate the maximum first. So let's say that the maximum, max is equal to increase, the first increase. This is the first year, and the max year would be equal to, if this were the case, it'd be equal to 1951. And then I'm going to loop for int I equals 1 to I is less than population length, I plus plus. If the increase of I is greater than max, then we have a new max, and we want to set max equal to this new max, and we want to remember what that year was. So max year equals I plus 1950. Right. And so once we're done with that, we can say label 1.text plus equals maximum increase equals max in max year. Oh, plus do a new line. Okay, so this is going to loop, and it's going to look at each increase, and it's going to compare each increase with what we already have stored as the maximum increase. If this new increase is bigger than what the max you've already stored, then it's going to store this new increase as the max, and it's going to record what year that was also. So that's the max, and then we're going to display that on the label, and then we're going to do the same thing for the minimum. So I'm going to say min is equal to increase, just do it the same way. Min year is equal to 1951, just like we start out with. And we do for int I equals 1, I is less than population length, I plus plus. And if the increase of I is less than what we have stored as min, then we want to make that the new min, and we want to say what that year was. Okay, and then we want to display that out. All right, so let's see what this does. And how does that compare with what this is? 1955, 1967. It doesn't say what it was, so 1955, 1967. Okay. All right, so this is how, now there's some stuff that we didn't do here. We don't have a close. You know, we should put some sort of label thing up here. That shouldn't say that. What that is, we didn't have anything where if something got messed up, where so we should have some sort of try catch thing, where if something is funny with the like let's say this thing has got you know, go gonna cause an error. Okay, so we should have a try catch in there which catches that. Um, all right. Oh, that's because this was on. All right, so this is, here we've demonstrated how the program works, how the program is supposed to work, and we've implemented a rudimentary version of this program using an array. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the assignment to into a list. And the average increase in population during the time period in addition to what is shown above, the application should also display the average change in population during the time period, the year with the greatest increase in population during the time period, along with the year and the value. The year with the greatest increase in population, along with the value. The year with the least increase in population, along with the value. During the time period, create an application that display, okay. Make sure your program accounts for possible errors in the file. In other words, include a try catch to catch and make, add your name as a comment in your .cs file and on the form itself. And then what to, okay, make, okay, what to hand in. Zip your project and submit below. Okay, so include a read dialog box to read the population file, right? Open dialog box. Oops. Use an open dialog box to read the population. All right. Create an application that reads the file's context into a list and displays the data similar to the following. Include a close, an exit button. Invoke the open dialog box when the program loads. Okay, so all this means, the last thing I just said, all that means is that you, instead of having a button, instead of having this button here, you have it in a double click on this. You have it in here. So all of this goes inside here, basically. Let me do this. Refactor. Work. Rename the method process file. Population. Process population. Apply. And so process population is there, and process population is here. Okay, so now when I run it, boom, it just comes up with this. Oh, is this thing still not working? Did I not save this? Yes. Still open by another program, huh? Okay, this should work now. Oh, it's wrong. Well, anyway, it's 4:30. Something's funny. It's funny. Anyway, not this time it worked. All right. So anyway, so you see how the program is supposed to work. I implemented it using an array, and all you have to do is now is implement it using a list, and I will talk more about that next time. All right. Are there any questions? Okay, so I will see you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching.